Toyota Hybrid versus Honda e-HEV, 200,000 miles, hybrid battery life, e-CVT durability, long-term reliability. Which system actually survives 200K? Here's the pattern interrupt. Both systems can hit 200K, but they don't get there the same way, and one of them has a bigger safety margin when the owner is normal and maintenance is, let's call it, inconsistent. Let's break this down. If you want to understand cars before you buy them, you're in the right place. Subscribe, because cars aren't complicated, they're just poorly explained, and hybrids are where bad explanations cost people the most money. Picture this. You're looking at a used hybrid with 120,000 miles. It looks clean, it drives fine, and the seller hits you with the classic line, "It's a hybrid, it'll run forever." And you're thinking the same thing everyone thinks, even if they don't say it out loud. Okay, but will it still be here at 200K without turning into a science project? That's the real question, because 200K isn't a spec sheet flex. It's heat cycles, potholes, winter salt, summer traffic, a few missed services, and one day where a small leak turns into an overheat event because nobody noticed. I'm GearHead, former mechanic, car nerd, and I don't pick winners based on brand pride. I care what's actually inside these systems, what wears out, what fails expensively, and which design stays calm when real life gets messy. So we're comparing Toyota's mainstream hybrid system, the one behind Prius, Camry Hybrid, RAV4 Hybrid, Highlander Hybrid, and a lot of Lexus hybrids, versus Honda's modern e-HEV two-motor system, the one you see in vehicles like the Accord Hybrid and CR-V Hybrid, and other markets' e-HEV models. And we're answering it honestly. Which one is more likely to survive 200K in the hands of a normal owner? First, the biggest mistake people make is comparing Toyota versus Honda like it's a personality contest. This is an architecture contest. Toyota's hybrid system, most commonly, uses a power split transaxle that people call an e-CVT. Important clarification, that's not a belt CVT. There's no belt, no pulleys, no squeeze the belt harder ratio changes. It's a planetary gear set with motor generators blending power. Mechanically, it's gears meshing in oil and electric motors doing controlled work. Honda's e-HEV system is usually a two-motor design that behaves differently. In a lot of everyday driving, the wheels are driven mainly by an electric traction motor. The gasoline engine often runs to spin a generator that produces electricity for that motor and manages battery state. Then, at steady higher speeds, Honda can engage a clutch to connect the engine to the wheels through a fixed ratio for efficient cruising. So Toyota is blend power continuously through a power split device, Honda is electric drive feel most of the time, then direct engine drive when it makes sense. Both are smart, both are efficient, but they create different durability risks over a long timeline. Now, here's a truth that saves you from unrealistic expectations. At 200,000 miles, no car is maintenance-free. Even the most reliable hybrid will need boring car stuff: struts, bushings and sway links, wheel bearings eventually, engine mounts, AC repairs at some point in its life, radiator and hose aging, and random sensors. So when I say survives 200K, I don't mean nothing breaks. I mean, does the core hybrid drivetrain stay intact, and does the car avoid the kind of failure that makes you say, not worth fixing? That's the bar. Now, let's start with Toyota and the reason it has the reputation it has. Toyota hybrids, why they tend to reach 200K with fewer drivetrain surprises. Toyota's biggest advantage is mechanical calm. A traditional automatic transmission survives by constantly engaging and releasing clutch packs and managing fluid pressure through a complex valve body. It can last a long time, but it has a lot of wear surfaces and a lot of ways to get unhappy. A belt CVT survives by keeping a metal belt or chain gripping pulleys under huge tension. Fluid condition and heat control matter a lot, and long-term abuse can kill them. Toyota's hybrid e-CVT transaxle, in many mainstream models, avoids both those pain points. There's no shifting through gears with clutch packs, there's no belt and pulley friction interface, there's just a planetary gear set, motor generators, reduction gears, bearings, and fluid. From a mechanical stress standpoint, that's a great way to live a long time. And that's why you see the real-world evidence that matters more than opinions. High-mileage Prius taxis, fleet Camry hybrids, ride-share cars, commuter RAV4 hybrids, many of them go deep into mileage without transmission rebuild being the common story. Now, trust moment. Toyota hybrids are not invincible. At 200K, the expensive stuff that can hit a Toyota hybrid usually isn't the e-CVT exploded, it's one of these categories. Category 1. Hybrid battery aging, more about age and heat than mileage. By the time you're talking 200K, you're often also talking about an older vehicle. Battery aging is driven heavily by time, temperature, and how well the pack was cooled. Plenty of Toyota packs make it a very long time, but if a car lived in high heat, sat for long periods, or had a clogged battery cooling fan, the pack can weaken earlier than some models. And here's a question that exposes a bad used buy fast. Does the engine seem to run constantly just to keep the battery charged during gentle driving? Because that can be a sign you're buying a tired pack even if there are no warning lights yet. Category 2. Cooling system neglect. Many Toyota hybrids have multiple cooling needs: engine cooling and, on many models, electronics inverter cooling. Overheating events and low coolant are the silent drivetrain killers. One major overheat event can take an engine from fine to expensive, and chronic higher than normal temps can stress electronics over time. Category 3. Model and generation-specific engine problems. Toyota's hybrid reputation sometimes makes buyers ignore the engine like it's a background actor. It's not. It's still an engine that can have known patterns depending on year. A famous example, certain 2010 to 2015 Prius generation patterns involving EGR clogging over time, rough cold starts, and, in some cases, head gasket issues, especially if the car lived on short trips with extended maintenance intervals. Not every car, not guaranteed, but real enough that if your 200K plan includes that generation, you treat a cold start like a lie detector. Category 4. Brake system complexity on some models. Some Toyota hybrids, especially certain Prius generations, use more complex brake booster actuator setups. When those fail, it's not a normal pad and rotor bill. At 200K, that can become one of the "this is real money" repairs. So Toyota's strength isn't nothing ever breaks. Toyota's strength is that the core hybrid drivetrain design is extremely tolerant, extremely proven, and not easy to kill with normal use. Now let's talk Honda e-HEV, because a lot of people love how it drives, and the driving feel matters if you're going to live with a car for 200,000 miles. Honda e-HEV. Can it reach 200K, and what are the risks?
Yes, modern Honda e-HEV systems can reach 200,000 miles, and the reason is simple. Electric motors are generally very durable machines when kept within thermal and electrical limits. They don't have the same wear surfaces as an engine, and they can deliver torque smoothly, which can reduce shock loads in the driveline. Honda's hybrid driving feel advantage comes from the system using the traction motor heavily in normal driving. Around town, many Honda hybrids feel closer to an EV, smooth off the line, linear response, and less engine doing engine things in the low speed zone. But we're not judging feels good, we're judging survives 200K. So where does Honda's long-term risk concentrate? Number 1, the gasoline engine still has to survive 200K. Even if the motor is the main driver much of the time, the engine still lives a full life of starts, stops, heat cycles, oil contamination over short trips, and coolant aging if maintenance is sloppy, long oil intervals, overheating history, ignored leaks. You can absolutely shorten the life of a Honda hybrid just like any other Honda. The hybrid system can't protect you from neglecting the engine. Number 2, the clutch-based direct drive strategy adds a specific long-life component Toyota doesn't rely on the same way. Honda's system uses a clutch to connect the engine to the wheels at steady higher speeds. It's not shifting gears constantly like a multi-speed automatic, but it is a mechanical engagement component that has to work flawlessly for a long time. Does it routinely fail early? Generally speaking, no. Honda engineered it to be robust. But if we're comparing which architecture has fewer mechanical engagement wear points, Toyota's power split transaxle has an advantage in simplicity of mechanical engagement strategy. Number 3, long-term thermal management maturity and fleet scale proof. Honda is excellent at engineering, but Toyota's hybrid system has something hard to replicate: decades of fleet abuse across millions of vehicles and an enormous refinement loop. When you ask which survives 200K, what you're really asking is which system has the most real-world proven margin across random owners. Toyota has more history and more consistent global patterns of ultra-high mileage hybrid operation. Honda e-HEV is now mature and proven in many markets, but Toyota's volume and time advantage still matters when you're betting on probability, not possibility. Number 4, hybrid battery aging is still a factor. Honda batteries also age with heat and time. At 200K, depending on the starting age of the vehicle, battery health becomes part of the ownership story. And here's the part people don't like hearing. The hybrid battery mileage number doesn't matter less than the battery's life conditions. A 200K car that lived in mild climate, driven daily with clean airflow paths, can be healthier than a 120K car that lived in extreme heat and sat a lot. So which system survives 200K more often? This is where I'm going to be direct but fair. If your question is, can both do it? Yes. If your question is, which one is more likely to do it with fewer drivetrain surprises, especially under average ownership, generally speaking, Toyota's mainstream hybrid system has the edge. Why? Because Toyota's power split e-CVT transaxle is mechanically low drama, extremely tolerant, and historically proven at massive scale under real neglect and fleet use. Honda e-HEV can absolutely go 200K, and many will, but it tends to reward good maintenance and the right ownership pattern, and it doesn't have quite the same global taxi-to-the-moon reputation across as many decades as Toyota's system. That's risk math, not disrespect. Now, let's myth-bust the biggest thing people get wrong about 200K hybrids. Myth: hybrids die at 150,000 miles because the battery dies. In most cases, battery decline is gradual. Heat and age matter more than mileage alone. And a shocking number of early battery failures are accelerated by simple things like clogged battery cooling fans, blocked intake vents, or cars that sit a long time. So the better question isn't, will the battery die? It's, how was the battery treated? Now, let's make this useful if you're shopping for a hybrid you want to take to 200K. Here's what actually predicts 200K survival, Toyota or Honda. 1. A cold start tells the truth. A warm engine can hide roughness, misfires, and early cooling system problems. A cold start exposes them. If the seller warmed it up, be suspicious. 2. Scan the car properly, not just no check engine light. Hybrids store codes in multiple modules. You want to know if there's history in hybrid control, battery management, cooling-related faults, and brake and ABS modules. No codes doesn't guarantee perfection, but hidden codes can save you from a very expensive surprise later. 3. Cooling health is everything. Look at coolant level and condition. Look for leak evidence. Make sure it behaves normally on a longer drive. Overheating history is a massive red flag for any hybrid you want to keep long-term. 4. Watch battery behavior on an actual drive. You're looking for obvious weakness, rapid charge-discharge swings, engine constantly running just to maintain charge in gentle driving, battery fan noise that seems excessive. 5. Maintenance history beats brand reputation. Oil changes on time, coolant service when due, brake fluid occasionally, spark plugs at the interval, and yes, transaxle fluid service is cheap insurance on Toyota hybrids and still worth caring about generally. Because the real 200K secret is boring. The cars that make it are the ones that were maintained like the owner planned to keep them. So here's the clean conclusion. If you want the highest probability of reaching 200K with the least drivetrain uncertainty, Toyota's hybrid system is still the safer bet in most cases because the power split transaxle design is simple, tolerant, and historically proven at massive scale. If you want a hybrid that often feels more EV-like around town and you're willing to stay disciplined on maintenance and buy a well-documented example, Honda e-HEV can absolutely survive 200K too, and many owners will prefer living with it day to day. And the final truth, the badge doesn't get you to 200K. Heat control, maintenance, and buying the right example does. So, if you want, tell me the 2 exact models and years you're cross-shopping, plus your climate and mileage per year, and I'll tell you the specific 200K risk points for those exact hybrids, because year and generation matter as much as the brand.